Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I hope this finds you well, and I hope you have a chance, hopefully, that you can enjoy some spring weather. We celebrate today the fourth Sunday of Easter. Reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Jesus said, "I am the good shepherd. A good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. A hired man who is not a shepherd, and whose sheep are not his own, sees a wolf coming and leaves the sheep and runs away, and the wolf catches and scatters them. This is because he works for pay and has no concern for the sheep. I am the good shepherd, and I know mine, and mine know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I will lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that do not belong to this fold. These also I must lead, and they will hear my voice. And there will be one flock, one shepherd. That is why the Father loves me, because I lay down my life in order to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down on my own. I have power to lay it down and power to take it up again. This command I have received from my Father." The Gospel of the Lord. So let me tell you a little story. A few years ago, I was helping to run a Kairos retreat for a group of high school seniors at this Benedictine retreat center up in southern Wisconsin. As we were just sitting down for our dinner meal in the dining room one evening, I heard a voice behind me talking with one of the other retreat leaders. Immediately, I recognized that voice. I didn't turn around. I didn't even get up right away. I just yelled out, "Peter." I was right. It was Peter, my former teacher and mentor back when I was working on my master's degree in religious education at Loyola. It was a very unexpected and joyful reconnection. You see, I hadn't talked or seen him in over 40 years. Yeah, you heard right, 40 years. And yet I recognized his voice. I knew that voice immediately. Have you ever had that happen? Recognizing someone just from the sound of their voice, even after a long passage of time. That is what strikes me about today's gospel. That one line, "I know my sheep, and my sheep know me." In fact, just a bit later in the same chapter, we hear the verse, "They know the sound of my voice, and they follow me." For most of us, our experience of sheep is limited probably to petting zoos or family visits to a farm. They're cute and soft and cuddly. They are also quite dumb. If left to themselves, they are completely defenseless. They'll wander away, get lost, or injured. They are innocent and extremely trusting, but they can't manage on their own. They need a leader. They need a shepherd, someone who is devoted to them day in and day out, someone who will guide them and protect them, feed them and shelter them from the storms of life. In spite of all their apparent shortcomings, however, there is one positive element in their life. They know the voice of their master, their shepherd. And not only that, even in the midst of the noises of life, they recognize his voice. And most importantly, they respond to it. Jesus is our good shepherd, and we are the sheep of his flock. He guides us, protects us, loves us, will even lay down his life for us. He leads us to shelter at night, and he serves as a human gate against robbers and predators. Whether we are lost or injured or strayed from the flock, he leads us to running water, to fertile grasslands, to safety, to the kingdom. And he does all of this not for simple pay, but out of love. He is our shepherd. We are his flock. But do we hear him? Do we recognize his voice? How many of us would say, I've never heard his voice. He's never spoken or reached out to me. I don't even know his voice. And yet, don't we hear his voice every day? In the words of Scripture, in the cries of children living in starvation, in the pleas of that stranger asking for a few coins, in the lament of those suffering, loss, and the pain of solitude, in the pain of illness and abuse. We do hear his voice every day. The bigger question is not so much do we hear his voice, but do we respond, and how? Do we hear his voice and then ignore it? Do we tell ourselves we can't be bothered? Do we choose to go our own way, apart from the flock? How do we respond? In our words, in prayers of praise and thanksgiving, in words of comfort and support, in songs and in laughter with our children and our grandchildren, in our actions, in a simple hug of affection and concern, in donating food to the local pantry, in cutting our neighbor's lawn when he's too ill to do it himself, in every positive action when we see someone tired or cold or hungry or homeless, lost or sick. Are we members of his flock? Are we faithful followers who not only hear his voice, recognize his voice, but respond with love and compassion? The Lord truly is our shepherd. There is nothing we shall want. In green pastures he makes us lie down. To still waters he leads us. He restores our soul. He guides us along the right path for his name's sake. Even though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we will not fear. For you are with us. Your rod and your staff give us comfort. Good and mercy will follow us all the days of our lives, and we shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Be well, be safe.